My half-sister tricked me into paying her tuition, then framed me as a thief, and Mom took her side, until one move turned their perfect lie into chaos. I'm a 27-year-old female who made a big commitment to help my half-sister Jenna, a 19-year-old female, with college. But something happened recently that made me question everything. I don't even know where to start, so I'll give you guys the backstory and let you decide if I'm a total jerk or not. Okay, so first off, Jenna and I share the same mom, but we have different dads. I'm from Mom's first marriage, and Jenna is from her second. Despite that, we've always been close, like real sisters. It never felt like the whole half-sibling thing mattered. I'm the oldest, so I've always kind of looked out for her. I was the one who helped her with her homework when Mom was busy, stayed up with her during her first breakup, and even taught her how to drive, which, let me tell you, was terrifying but also kind of hilarious. When her dad passed away last year, I was right there by her side. She was devastated, and I tried my best to be her rock. I drive her to her grief counseling appointments, take her out for ice cream to cheer her up, and even let her vent to me about things I couldn't fix. I honestly thought we had the kind of bond where we'd always have each other's backs, no matter what. But then things started shifting. Jenna went from being the sweet, bubbly kid I grew up with to someone who seemed to think everyone was out to get her. She became defensive and started blaming her friends for random stuff, like borrowing clothes and forgetting to return them, or stealing things like makeup and small accessories. She'd call me to vent about how so-and-so probably took this or how could they betray me like that, and I didn't know how to respond half the time. Honestly, I thought it was just her grief talking, so I never called her out on it. Maybe I should have. Hindsight, right? Meanwhile, my life was on track. I'd graduated college, landed a good job, and finally started saving for postgrad studies after years of scraping by. It felt like things were finally looking up. Then Jenna got accepted into a local college. Everyone was thrilled. Mom was practically beaming. But financially, things weren't great for her. Losing her husband had hit her hard, and paying for Jenna's tuition just wasn't possible, so Mom asked if I could help out. Of course, I said yes. Jenna is my sister, and family helps family. I told Mom I'd cover Jenna's tuition as long as she worked part-time to cover her own spending money. I also offered to let her live with me rent-free since the school was close to my apartment. It sounded like a solid plan at the time, but I didn't realize how much of a strain it would put on me. Here's the thing. Helping Jenna meant I'd have to cut back. No more weekend trips with friends or buying random stuff just because I wanted it, but I was fine with that. I wanted to give her a chance to focus on school without worrying about finances. I figured we'd navigate this new chapter together, like old times. When Jenna moved in, it was not what I expected. At first, it felt like a fresh start for both of us, but after a few weeks, she started hanging out with this new group of friends who just felt off to me. They were loud, careless, and just plain disrespectful. They'd show up at my apartment at all hours acting loud and careless like it was their space, not mine. I tried to be chill about it at first because, hey, she's 19, and maybe I was being too uptight. But the more I watched them, the more something didn't sit right. They gave off this sketchy vibe like, I don't know, the kind of people you wouldn't trust around your stuff for too long. One time, I caught one of them snooping around my kitchen cabinets, like they were looking for something. After a few nights of their nonsense, I finally said something to Jenna. I told her I wasn't comfortable with her friends coming over all the time, and honestly, they seemed a little suspicious. Her response? It's none of your business who I hang out with. Cool. Awesome. Love that for me. I bit my tongue and let it go because I didn't want to fight with her or seem like I wanted to control her life. But deep down, I was worried. Something about them felt off, like they were onto something sketchy. Coke, maybe? I didn't have proof, so I kept it to myself. To make matters worse, Jenna wasn't exactly pulling her weight. She wasn't looking for a part-time job like we'd agreed, and she wasn't contributing to the housework either. I started feeling more like her maid than her sister. I didn't want to nag her, but it was frustrating. I was sacrificing a lot to help her, cutting back on my own spending, skipping out on trips with friends, and putting my postgrad plans on hold. The least she could do was meet me halfway, right? Around the same time, I finally managed to buy a car. It was a used sedan, nothing fancy, but it was reliable and got me where I needed to go. I'd been saving for months, and it felt like a huge accomplishment. I called Mom to share the news while Jenna was sitting next to me on the couch, casually scrolling through her phone. Mom, I finally got the car, I said, excited. I just need a little more cash to finish paying it off, but it's almost done. Mom sounded so happy for me. That's amazing, sweetheart. You've been working so hard. I'm proud of you. Jenna didn't say anything, just kept scrolling, and I didn't think much of it. It wasn't a big deal or some kind of secret. I was just proud and wanted to share the moment. For a brief moment, I thought maybe things would start looking up. I had my car, Jenna was settling into her new life, and I figured we'd find our groove eventually. I even thought the car might be something we could bond over. A little milestone moment for me, and a way to make her life easier too. I mean, I was driving her to school and on errands. It wasn't just for me. But instead of being happy for me, she started acting different, more distant, more irritable. She wasn't outright mean or anything, but her tone was off, like she had something to say but wouldn't say it. So yeah, we were already on shaky ground before that incident, which changed everything happened. We had planned a little trip to the lake to celebrate the car. Nothing fancy, just a chill day out. I thought it would be a good way to reset things, maybe talk and get back to how we used to be. Jenna seemed excited, which was rare lately, so I was looking forward to it. The morning of, we started packing up the car. I was gathering snacks and blankets while she grabbed her stuff. That's when I heard her yell from her room. It wasn't the usual annoyed or dramatic yelling I'd gotten used to. It was full-blown panic. I dropped what I was doing and rushed over, thinking she'd hurt herself or something. She was standing in the middle of her room, tearing through her bags like a maniac. Clothes were flying everywhere, drawers were open, and she looked like she was on the verge of tears. "What's going on?" I asked, genuinely concerned. "My dad's camera," she said, her voice shaking. "It's gone." Now, for context, this wasn't just any camera. It was a vintage, gold-plated Leica Luxus that was worth thousands, and it had been in her dad's family for generations. She told me about it before, how her dad used to take photos with it when she was a kid, and how it was one of the few things she had left of him. I knew how much it meant to her, so I immediately started helping her search. We tore her room apart, then the living room, then the car. Nothing. It was like the camera had vanished into thin air. I asked her if she was sure she brought it with her when she moved in. She froze for a second, like she was considering the possibility, but then shook her head. "I had it. I was using it just the other day." I nodded and suggested we retrace her steps. Maybe she'd left it at a friend's house or in one of their cars. But the moment the words left my mouth, her whole demeanor changed. She stopped searching, crossed her arms and gave me this look. Half frustration, half accusation. "I didn't leave it anywhere," she said slowly. "Someone must have taken it." I blinked, confused. "Taken it? Jenna, who would—" And then it hit me. She wasn't just saying someone had taken it, she was saying I had taken it. "Are you seriously accusing me of stealing your camera?" I asked, my voice rising. I was so caught off guard, I didn't even know what else to say. I mean, yeah, I knew she'd been weird about trust lately, but I never thought she'd go there with me, her own sister. "I'm just saying," she started, her tone defensive. "It's weird how you suddenly have money for a car, and now my camera's missing. Don't you think that's convenient?" I stared at her, absolutely stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything I'd done for her, paying for her tuition, letting her live with me rent-free, dealing with her messy friends, this was how she saw me, as some kind of thief. "Are you kidding me right now?" I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I've been saving for that car for months. You've seen me working extra hours. You've seen me skipping out on stuff so I could afford it. And now you're accusing me of pawning your dad's camera to cover the rest?" She shrugged, like it wasn't a big deal. "I don't know, it's just suspicious timing." That word, suspicious, felt disgusting. I couldn't believe she'd actually say that to me, let alone believe it. I told her I had receipts to prove every penny I'd spent on the car, but she just rolled her eyes and went back to rummaging through her stuff, muttering something about how convenient it all was. The thing that hurt the most wasn't even the accusation itself. It was the fact that she didn't trust me. After everything we'd been through, after all the times I'd had her back, she thought I was capable of stealing something so important to her. It felt like a slap in the face. At that point, I didn't even know what to say. I just walked out of the room, grabbed my keys, and told her I'd be waiting in the car if she still wanted to go to the lake. Part of me hoped she'd come out and apologize, but she didn't. She just sulked the whole drive there, barely speaking a word, and that was the beginning of the end. After the lake trip and the lost camera, things between Jenna and me got unbearably tense. She barely spoke to me unless she absolutely had to, and even then her tone was clipped, like I'd done something unforgivable. It was a weird kind of passive aggressiveness. Like she wasn't outright mean, but everything about her attitude screamed, "You're the problem." She'd leave her stuff all over the apartment, conveniently forget to clean up after herself, and crank the volume on the TV when I was trying to work. I ignored it at first because I didn't want to make things worse, but it wasn't just that, it was everything. Then, suddenly, little things around the apartment started going missing. At first it was random stuff, like my phone charger, my favorite coffee mug, and a couple of reusable bags I used for groceries. I thought maybe I'd misplaced them, but then I noticed some of the things turning up in her room. My charger was plugged into her phone. The coffee mug I'd been searching for all week was sitting on her nightstand, half filled with some mystery drink. When I asked her about it, she just shrugged and said something like, "I didn't think you'd mind." I tried to brush it off. It wasn't worth fighting over, and honestly, I was too mentally drained to care. But then it escalated. I started finding my stuff broken or damaged. A picture frame I'd had since college was cracked. My favorite water bottle, one I'd been using for years, suddenly had a huge dent in it. My plants, which I'd been taking care of for months, looked like someone had overwatered them to the point of drowning. And the fact that she didn't even bother to acknowledge it just made it worse. It wasn't just the stuff either. Jenna's behavior became increasingly reckless. Her friends were over constantly, and they weren't exactly the quiet type. They'd blast music, leave trash all over the apartment, and even use my bathroom like it was theirs. I confronted her about it later, and she rolled her eyes, like I was being dramatic. "They're my friends," she said, as if that justified everything. "Why do you care so much?" "Because this is my apartment, Jenna," I shot back. "I'm the one paying rent. I'm the one who has to clean up after them. You can't just let them treat this place like it's some free-for-all." Instead of apologizing, she just stared at me with this blank expression and said, "Well, maybe you shouldn't have invited me to live here if you didn't want to deal with my life." That sentence stuck with me. I'd invited her to stay with me so she could have a chance at a better life, so she wouldn't have to stress about rent or bills while going to school, and this was how she saw it, as some kind of burden I'd brought on myself. I didn't even know how to respond, so I just walked away. But the worst part? That stupid camera situation wasn't going away. Jenna wasn't accusing me outright anymore, but she didn't need to. The damage was already done. Every time I walked into a room, I could feel her watching me, like she was waiting for me to slip up or reveal something. It was suffocating. And the worst of all was the gossip. Somehow, the whole missing camera story had leaked out. I had a feeling it was Jenna after she told her friends, and it felt like the entire town was talking about it. I live in a small town, and everyone knows everyone's business, so the small town gossip machine was in full force. And let me tell you, it's faster than the internet around here. I'd walk into the grocery store and suddenly feel like the main character in a bad reality TV show. You know that moment in Mean Girls, where Regina spreads the rumor about Janice? Yeah, that was me, only instead of a high school cafeteria, it was aisle 5 next to the cereal. Suddenly, I was getting side eyes at the grocery store and whispers behind my back at work. Even my boss pulled me aside, not to scold me but to get the tea. She loves gossip, but thankfully stayed out of it otherwise. At first, I brushed off the accusations because I knew I didn't take the camera. But as the whispers got louder and the stares became harder to ignore, I started to question myself. What if I had accidentally moved it? Could it have fallen into one of my bags when I was helping Jenna unpack? I replayed every moment from the last few weeks, trying to figure out if there was even a shred of truth to what she was saying. I even started searching through my own drawers and shelves, just to be sure. It felt ridiculous, but the pressure was getting to me. Everyone seemed so convinced I'd taken it that I started wondering if I'd somehow made a mistake. At one point, I even started scrolling through Reddit threads to see if anyone else had dealt with something similar. Sister accused me of theft and ruined my life didn't get me a lot of results. But the comments on similar stories were a mix of cut her off and family is family, you have to forgive. Super helpful, right? I closed the app and immediately felt worse. Deep down, I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but it didn't take long for Jenna's dad's family to get involved. They were furious, of course, and they didn't bother to hear my side of the story. I got phone calls from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, all demanding to know how I could do this to Jenna. They called me selfish, untrustworthy, and a terrible sister. I tried to explain that I didn't take the camera, but they weren't interested in listening. To them, I was guilty, and that was that. I even started getting messages on social media. People I barely knew were commenting on my old posts, calling me a thief and a liar. Some of them weren't even subtle about it. They tagged me in posts saying stuff like, "Some people will do anything for money." It was humiliating. I ended up deleting my Facebook account altogether because I couldn't take it anymore. Meanwhile, Jenna just carried on like everything was normal, or at least like this whole thing wasn't affecting her. She still went out with her friends, still acted like I was overreacting about everything. Anytime I tried to bring up how much this was hurting me, she'd shut me down with some passive-aggressive comment like, "Well, maybe if you didn't have something to hide, people wouldn't be talking." It got to the point where I started avoiding her entirely. I'd leave for work early and stay out late, just to avoid being in the apartment at the same time as her. I even started eating out more, even though it was killing my budget, just so I wouldn't have to deal with her attitude at dinner. I didn't know what else to do. Talking to her didn't work, ignoring her didn't work, and the worst part, no matter how hard I tried to prove my innocence, it didn't matter. In her mind, and apparently in everyone else's, I was guilty. I tried to talk to Mom about it, hoping she'd help me figure out what to do, but even she seemed hesitant to get involved. "She's been through a lot," Mom said, like that excused everything. "Maybe she just needs some time to calm down." Calm down, I snapped. She's accusing me of stealing, Mom. She's trashing my apartment. She's letting her friends treat this place like a frat house. How is that okay? Mom sighed, the kind of sigh that says she's too tired to deal with this. I'll talk to her, she said eventually. But you need to be patient. She's still grieving. I wanted to scream. Patience? I'd been nothing but patient. I'd bent over backward for Jenna, and this was how she repaid me. I knew Mom was just trying to keep the peace, but it felt like she was siding with Jenna, even if she didn't mean to. Things kept escalating until, finally, I reached my breaking point. It all came to a head when one of Jenna's aunts from her dad's side called me. I hadn't spoken to this woman in years. Honestly, I couldn't even remember her name, but she came in hot. She told me, in no uncertain terms, that if I didn't return the camera immediately, they were going to file a police report against me for theft. A freaking police report! I was so stunned I almost laughed. I tried to explain that I didn't take anything and that they didn't have proof, but she cut me off. We don't care about your excuses, she snapped. You've disrespected our family, and we'll make sure you face the consequences. That call lit a fire in me. I was done being quiet, done being patient, and definitely done letting Jenna drag me through the mud. This wasn't just her petty gossip anymore. This was serious. If they went through with this report, it could wreck my job, my reputation, everything. When I got home that evening, I was ready to put an end to it. I went straight to Jenna's room and threw the door open. She was lying on her bed, scrolling through her phone, like she didn't have a care in the world. Seeing her so calm, like she wasn't out here destroying my life, made my blood boil. We need to talk. Now, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She didn't even look up. About what? She said in that fake, innocent tone she'd perfected. I clenched my fists. About how your dad's family is threatening to file a police report against me because of your stupid accusations. You need to fix this, Jenna, right now. She finally looked up, raising an eyebrow, like I was the one being unreasonable. Why should I? She said with a shrug. It serves you right. My jaw dropped. Serves me right? Are you serious right now? You made yourself look guilty, she said, her voice flat and dismissive. Maybe if you weren't so sketchy about your car, people wouldn't think you stole the camera. That was it. I couldn't hold it in anymore. Jenna, are you actually kidding me? I've done nothing but help you. I'm paying your tuition. I let you live here for free. I've sacrificed everything to make your life easier, and this is how you repay me? By trashing my name and turning everyone against me? She rolled her eyes. Maybe you should have thought about that before you stole from me. I felt my chest tighten, the sheer audacity of her words leaving me both furious and gutted. Get the hell out, I snapped, each word louder than the last. Pack your stuff and leave. I'm done with this. You're done here. For a second she looked shocked, like she didn't think I had it in me, but then her face hardened. Fine, she said, standing up. I don't need you anyway. I stormed out of the room, shaking with anger. I couldn't even be in the same space as her anymore. I went to the kitchen, gripping the counter to steady myself. I couldn't believe it had come to this. After everything I'd done for her, this was how it ended. That's when I heard the banging, not light thuds or stomping, but full-on destructive pounding. My heart jumped into my throat. I ran to the window, and there she was, Jenna, sprinting across the driveway like an absolute maniac, baseball bat in hand. What the hell is she doing? I muttered to myself, fumbling to unlock the door. I barely made it outside before I heard the sickening crack of the bat slamming into my car. She didn't stop. She pulled the bat back like a pro and swung again, hitting the hood this time, leaving a huge dent. I froze for a second, completely dumbfounded. Jenna! I shouted as I rushed toward her. What the hell are you doing? She turned to face me, a smug look on her face, gripping the bat tightly. Without a word, she swung it, slamming it into the side of my car with a loud thud that made the neighbors come out to watch the drama. My stomach dropped as I stared at the dent she'd just left. What is wrong with you? I yelled, my voice shaking with anger and disbelief. She smirked, resting the bat on her shoulder. Oh, what? Is this your precious car? I figured it could use some character to match its owner. My fists clenched as I stepped toward her. Jenna, drop the bat. Now! She laughed bitterly, tossing the bat onto the driveway, like she'd made her point. Fine. You're so dramatic. You know that? It's just a stupid car, and you should have thought about that before telling me to get out like I'm some kind of trash you can just throw away. I didn't respond, just pulled out my phone and dialed. When the dispatcher answered, I kept my voice steady despite the anger bubbling beneath the surface. My sister just damaged my car with a bat. I need someone to come out here. Jenna's smug expression faltered when she realized what I was doing. You're seriously calling the cops over this? She asked, her voice full of disbelief. Wow, Guess family doesn't mean anything to you. No, Jenna, I said firmly. Respect doesn't mean anything to you. I've had enough. Minutes later, the patrol car pulled into the driveway. Jenna crossed her arms, her face blank but her posture tense. The officer stepped out and immediately assessed the scene, eyes landing on the dent in my car and the bat lying on the ground. I explained everything to the officer. How Jenna had been causing problems for weeks, how she took a bat to my car, and how I felt unsafe in my own home. Jenna tried to brush it off, saying it was just one little hit and accusing me of blowing things out of proportion. But the officer didn't seem to buy it. "Did you hit the car with the bat?" the officer asked her directly. Jenna shrugged. "Yeah, but it's not like I destroyed it or anything. It's just a dent." The officer didn't look amused. "That's still property damage." "Do you want to press charges?" he asked, turning to me. I didn't hesitate. "Yes, I do." Jenna's jaw dropped. "You're really doing this?" "You left me no choice," I said firmly. "This isn't about the car anymore, Jenna. It's about all of it. I've done everything I could for you, and this is how you repay me. I'm done." She didn't respond, just stared at me as the officer took down our statements. After a tense few minutes, he told her she needed to leave. She stormed into the house, slamming every door as she grabbed her things. When she reappeared with her bags, she didn't look at me or say a word. She climbed into the car of a friend who had come to pick her up and drove off without so much as a glance back. The officer handed me a copy of the report and gave me advice on how to handle the situation moving forward. I nodded, but most of it blurred together in my head. I was too exhausted to process it all. When the officer left, I stood in the quiet driveway, looking at the dent in my car and the bat lying on the ground. I picked it up, feeling the weight of it in my hands, and tossed it into the trash. It felt symbolic, like throwing away the chaos she'd brought into my life. As I sit here, one thing's clear. Jenna can kiss the college fund goodbye. After everything that's gone down, there's no fixing this. I've done my part, and if that makes me the bad guy in someone's eyes, so be it. Who do you think is the real a-hole here? So, let me tell you what happened after Jenna left. I spent the next week trying to get my life back in order. Between dealing with the police report and explaining everything to my landlord, it felt like a full-time job. I was lucky that Jenna hadn't actually destroyed my car, and I managed to fix some scratches and dents. But the fallout from her actions hit her hard and fast. The charges I filed were enough to trigger a hearing, and word spread like wildfire in the town. Suddenly, Jenna wasn't just the girl whose dad had died. She was the girl who'd gone off the rails and gotten herself into legal trouble. Her dad's family, who had been so quick to back her when she accused me of stealing the camera, suddenly wanted nothing to do with her. The same people who had threatened me with a police report were now distancing themselves from her, as if she were some kind of pariah. But they didn't apologize to me. And then, the truth about the camera finally came out. It turns out Jenna hadn't even brought the camera to my apartment. She'd packed it in one of her boxes when she was moving in, but had accidentally left that box at Mom's house. Mom found it while cleaning out the guest room, buried under some old clothes and papers. She called me the moment she found it, her voice a mix of relief and guilt. "I don't know what to say," Mom said. "I should have checked sooner. This whole mess could have been avoided." I was too stunned to feel angry at that moment. The camera, the thing that had started this entire nightmare, had been sitting safely at Mom's house the whole time. When Jenna found out, she gave what could barely pass as an apology. "I was stressed, okay?" she said when I confronted her about it. "You have no idea what I've been going through. You should have understood." "Understood?" I snapped. "You accused me of stealing, trashed my name, tried to destroy my car, and now you're telling me I should have understood. Are you kidding me?" She didn't have a real answer. She just muttered something about how she'd been overwhelmed and walked away, like that was supposed to make it all better. But the damage was already done, and Jenna was starting to feel the consequences of her actions. The charges I filed meant she now had a record, which didn't exactly help her chances of finding a part-time job to pay for school, and without my help covering her tuition, she couldn't afford to stay enrolled. She ended up having to drop out entirely, which only fueled the gossip around town. Her friends, the same ones she defended so fiercely when we were living together, disappeared almost overnight. I guess it's easy to hang around when someone else is footing the bill for your fun, but as soon as things got tough, they all bailed. Jenna was left with nothing but the mess she'd made. The fallout even reached social media. People who had jumped on her side when the rumors first started were now posting vague apology statuses like, "Wow, some people really know how to ruin their own lives." It was petty, but honestly, I didn't feel bad for her. She'd brought this on herself. Mom tried to mediate, as always, but even she was running out of patience with Jenna. "I love her, but she needs to learn," Mom said one evening when we were on the phone. "She's burned every bridge she has. She has to figure this out on her own." I knew Mom was struggling with guilt. She always does when it comes to Jenna. But I couldn't bring myself to feel the same way. I'd given Jenna every chance to fix things, to take responsibility, and she'd thrown them all away. Eventually, Jenna moved in with one of her old high school friends who lived in a rundown apartment on the edge of town. From what I heard, it wasn't exactly a great situation, but it was all she could afford. I didn't reach out, and neither did Mom. As for me, life slowly started to return to normal. The gossip around town died down after a while, and people at work finally stopped giving me side eyes. I even managed to repair some of the relationships that had been strained during the whole ordeal. But things between me and Jenna, they were beyond repair. Every now and then, I'd hear updates about her from mutual acquaintances. How she was working odd jobs to make ends meet. How she'd burned bridges with even more people. How she seemed to be stuck in a cycle she couldn't break out of. The last time I saw her was a few weeks ago at the grocery store. She looked rough. Eyes hollow, jittery movements, and a worn-down expression that wasn't like her at all. She glanced at me briefly, and for a second, I thought she might say something, but then she just turned and walked away, her steps unsteady, like she couldn't get out of there fast enough. I don't know if we'll ever repair our relationship. The person she's become, I don't even recognize her anymore. I've started saving for my post-grad plans again, slowly but surely. The car, thankfully, is still in one piece, and I've even started taking weekend trips with friends again, something I haven't done in years. Do I regret helping Jenna in the first place? Not at all. But I do regret letting her walk all over me for as long as she did. Sometimes, loving someone means knowing when to step back, and for me, that time is now.